Yes. I'm calling the meeting to order at exactly 6:01. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the Texas Pledge.
Honoring the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one flag,
Indivisible.
under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Okay, community announcements. Items of community I cannot see this. Items of community interest may include recognizing citizens and staff for outstanding contributions to the community, a reminder about an upcoming event that is organized or sponsored by the governing body, and announcements of imminent threats to public safety that have arisen after the posting of this agenda. Citizen input. Any persons may address the Planning and Zoning Commission. If your comments are concerning an agenda item, you may wait until the discussion on that item if you prefer. Once recognized by the chairperson, please step forward to the speaker's podium, state your name and address, and speak directly into the microphone so that people in the room and those attending remotely can hear comments and see presentations. To request to speak via video conference, click on Participants at the bottom of the screen and click Raise Hand. The chairperson will acknowledge your request and allow you to speak. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual unless additional time is otherwise required by law. No discussion or action may be taken at the meeting on any item not listed on the agenda, other than to make statements of factual information or receive existing policy in response to a citizen's inquiry. Okay. So the first item, do we have anyone here representing that today?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think we have a staff person that would, first of all, present the staff report. And then after that, you would open the public hearing.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heather Schenkel. I'm with Messer Fort. I'm representing the city here today to discuss this. I'm going to give them just a second to get that presentation up for y'all. All right, the first item for consideration before you this evening is one that you heard at the previous P and Z meeting on September 27th. The public hearing was opened and it was continued until this meeting. So we're going to discuss that a little further. Just to refresh your memory, this is a rezoning of 1.2 acres from SF10 to SF75. This was also presented to City Council on September 28th, and they did open the public hearing and continue that till their next meeting as well. The applicant at that time did request additional time to submit additional information for their request, the rezoning request. And since that time, we have received, staff has received additional submittals. What you have before you right now is not the most recent. We did receive a submittal late this afternoon. So that's not exactly accurate as to what you're seeing here. The resubmittal this afternoon does reduce the lots from 4 to 3. And while some of the SF 75 standards are met, such as appear to be met from the submittal that we have received, such as the lot width and the minimum lot area, staff still does have concerns about some of the existing requirements to meet the SF 75 standards, such as the side setbacks, because those are not listed on the new submittal. We are unable to ascertain a correct maximum lot coverage. So those are just a few things that staff is still unable to identify from the submittal that was received this afternoon. They have not had the appropriate amount of time to review that and to be able to provide the feedback that they need to at this time. Additional questions that were still concerning to the staff was drainage for this area and water system circulation. So those are still outstanding items for staff. As you can see here, this again is on the submitted concept plan is from the previous one that we received a few days ago. So that is not actually current to the most recent submittal, but these are the requirements that would need to be met for the SF 75 zoning for the submittal to meet the SF 75 zoning. As stated, their staff does still have some concerns, and at this time, staff is recommending denial. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, and if not, then someone else would like to.
So none of the stuff we looked at or have made available to us so far is accurate.
Some things on there appear to be accurate, but staff has not had such as the lot width appears to be correct, but we are unable to calculate some of the information that we need, such as the side setbacks, which the side yard requires to be 8 feet. And those aren't listed on from the short amount of time that I was able to review it, and staff as well. So we would need those to calculate maximum lot coverage. Also, there was just still some questions about the lot frontage, a few other things like that. So some of it is addressed on the new site plan, or it appears to be addressed, but there are still some lingering questions.
So staff is recommending denial versus extension.
At this time. And Leanne may want to speak on that further, but at this time, yes.
We need to have that here.
I think so too. Yeah, let's do that.
Do we have anyone here for the hearing?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just a note, according to the agenda, if you can announce what time you open the public hearing and what time you close it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hereby announce the opening of the public hearing at 6:08 PM.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Chairwoman Tidwell, members of the commission. I'm Jim Dewey with JDJR Engineers, 2500 Texas Drive, Irving, Texas. I'm here tonight on behalf of the property owners that want to develop this property into 3 homes. A lot of the confusion about this project, I have to take some responsibility for. There's been some back and forth with different plans. The property owners wanted to get 4 lots, and that's what we were trying to do. But you cannot get 4 lots on this property under SF 75. Now, our property, if you go back to the zoning map, we abut SF 75 on 2 sides. So it's not like we're asking for some kind of zoning that's out of place. The yellow area is already zoned SF 75. And we're simply right there with over an acre lot that is now undeveloped. So we tried to revise the plan last week. We turned it into a PD so we could ask for variances to get the 4 lots. Come back, staff informed us, rightfully so, that your PD ordinance doesn't allow us to submit for a residential PD unless we have 5 acres. So basically, there's no way in your zoning ordinance to develop a piece of property that needs variances in terms of residential unless you have 5 acres and you can submit a PD. So with some discussion with the owners, we have backed off. We simply want 3 lots. Now, I know I turned this plan in late. I'd like to hand out the plan. And I'd like to talk about it for a minute.
Thank you.
Here, absolutely. This plan before you has 3 lots, all of which are over 10,000 square feet. So the first question is, if they're all over 10,000 square feet, why are you asking for our SF 77.5? The reason is the lot on the top, what is labeled as lot 1, doesn't meet the lot depth requirement for our SF 10. So although we're asking, and that's the whole reason we're going to R 7.5 here, is simply so we can get that third lot. They're all over 10,000 feet. One of them 16,000, one of them's over 12, I believe. The other one's over 10. So we're not asking this to increase the density per se. We're getting 10,000 square foot lots. Now they have a question about side setbacks and all these issues. Quite frankly, I don't understand that, because going straight SF 7.5, we can't have any variances. That means we're complying. We're complying with every requirement in SF 7.5. The 8 foot side setbacks, the 25-foot front setbacks, the required back setbacks, any kind of required lot coverage. When we submitted or tried to go to PD, we were going to agree to minimum 2,100 square foot houses, far in excess of what your ordinance requires. They want to build 3 nice homes here. That's all we're trying to do. Now, initially, there's concerns about a cul-de-sac. They never were clear on what their concerns were about the cul-de-sac. The Lynn currently comes up north and then it dog legs, and there's another cul-de-sac. We're simply proposing a cul-de-sac that would kind of be more normal at the end of the street to provide frontage for these lots. So I don't really, maybe they can be a little more specific as what's the problem with the cul-de-sac. Would be glad to address that. And then there's been an issue about drainage and water. There's water and sewer in the streets. We can tie in to existing water and sewer. Your engineer made a comment that this needed to be looped. Every cul-de-sac street in Aubrey, all of the Metroplex has dead end water lines. This particular dead end water line only serves 3 houses now, and if we can get this approved, we'll serve 3 more. The existing water line has sufficient capacity for at least 6 homes, as well as for a new fire hydrant if we need it. Now, looped water lines are better, but you can't loop a line in a cul-de-sac, and no cul-de-sac streets have looped water lines. If stagnation is a concern in the cities, we do this in all other cities, we put in a flush valve at the end of the line. They now make automatic flush valves, so city personnel no longer have to physically go out there and flush the line, make sure there's enough chlorine, etc. We're willing to do that. These are engineering issues, which really isn't part of zoning and land use. In terms of drainage, water, sewer, paving, we're going to meet all city requirements. We're not asking for any relief on any city requirements. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have or address any staff questions concerns that they still have. I respectfully request that you recommend approval to the city council for the zoning request. And I mean, if there's still concerns that would prohibit you from approving these 3 lots that are over 10,000 square feet, I mean, we would rather postpone and try to work out with staff. We don't see their concerns because we didn't specify our side setbacks because we can't have variances. So I'm a little confused as their concern, because requesting SF 7.5, we have to comply with everything in that ordinance, and that was our intention. And it is our intention. We don't even have an option. We have to comply.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak?
Thank you, sir.
My name is Troy Oakley. I live at 227 D Lynn Street. I'm the middle house. I have two houses on the side of me. We have my neighbor and I, which is Sean right here, and Joe Jackson. We installed our own drain. There's a water problem there. Cost $5,000. And all the water where they're wanting to build runs down the hill and runs to my house. I'm in the center between Sean and between Joe Jackson. And we installed our own drain, and it still isn't sufficient enough to get the water out. I wish that y'all would consider looking at this, because there is a big water issue there. No doubt about it. When they were there surveying, I had a conversation with the surveyors, and I said, he said, well, we're thinking about 4 houses and then 3. And I said, well, all this water runs right down to my house. And if you'll notice, this summer, we haven't had a lot of rain. But I am telling you, swear to the good Lord above, that there is a big water issue there. And I'd be willing to show any of you members, I'd invite you to come to my place and my house and show you how the water runs, because it's not sufficient enough. Like I said, we spent our own money to put a drain in, and it's still not sufficient enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else on this issue?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think that I'm Sean at 229 B Lynn. My concern is are they going to undercut all along my property line? I have a lot of trees along that property line. So if they're going to cut my drip line out, they're going to kill every tree I have on the east side of my house. I'm got concern about that. The water is an issue. I have 2 deep cuts that I made with a tractor through my backyard just to divert. Before he moved into that house, Mary came running to me during a rainstorm, and said water was coming in her back door. So that's why I went and got a tractor and started undercutting my backyard. It's a ditch deeper than a foot to divert this water away from things. So a non-permeable surface, more of it up there without any management of it, definitely will be hitting us hard. My concern. So the tree, drip line and water. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else?
I have,
There's just 3 minutes.
I don't know if I use 3 minutes. I'd like to address their concern.
I'm okay with
I
that.
don't have any rebuttal time.
No, I'm okay with that, sir.
And if I could ask you, is your house the one immediately west of us that touches our property? All the way, okay. Obviously, they have very valid concerns. Anytime you build any new construction, drainage is a big issue, and when you set water, I'm assuming that rainwater.
Yes.
Runoff. Not domestic water. Your codes, and as an engineer, we cannot increase the runoff onto adjacent property. It's just not, it's not allowed in the city code. It's not allowed, state law says we can't do it. Building houses and driveways does increase the impervious surface. Now, just so I didn't mention that I am a licensed engineer and would be doing the engineering if this gets approved. What we would do is try to get all of the runoff. Now, maybe we have to bring in some fill, maybe we have to build retaining walls. I don't know any of that yet. But we would take the runoff to the new street and not to adjacent property.
There's no way to divert that water.
Well, like I said, if we have to fill those pads so they go to the street and move all that water going west, that's what we're gonna do.
You've been out there.
We have done a topographic
You
search.
yourself.
I have not been, there.
But you need to take a look.
Well, I'll be glad to do that.
So we're gonna
Um,
call this portion. Thank
what?
you, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
We do have a time limit that we want to
Okay.
respect. Thank you for
But I-
addressing those concerns.
that is not something that your code would allow. If this zoning is approved, which is land use, the next step would be going to platting and turning engineering plans. You have a city engineer, very capable city engineer, review the plans. We're not gonna get anything approved that would increase the water or cause any additional runoff onto adjacent.
Okay.
We're
property.
going to
Thank you,
have to
sir.
call. Thank you so much for that response.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Close the meeting.
Let's go ahead and close the meeting now. We're closing this at 6:21 AM. AM. Tell what time my day started. PM. I didn't see another hand. What, were there more?
This is about the zoning change for Mylar Industrial.
For Delant,
Oh, that's the-
That's going to be next. We're going to close the first item.
Close the meeting, I thought.
Oh,
no,
not yet.
you're next.
So with that being said, let's open.
No.
I don't see where we have the information to make a decision. I move that we deny the.
A second.
Would have been nice to be able to convene, because that's definitely not a black or white, but I think I would like to go with the staff recommendation.
Yeah.
How do you?
With what?
With
The
what?
staff recommendation.
Yeah, I recommend we deny for staff recommendation.
Second, okay. I second that.
And she seconded.
So are you moving?
I move that we deny.
Okay, and then a second. Okay, thank you. Okay,
We vote.
all right, all in favor? Is that everyone?
Yep.
Anyone?
So who's in favor?
All.
Mhm.
I think our hands were peeping behind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Okay, now we can move on to the second item on the agenda. And this is going to open a public hearing. This is where we're considering the 3.7 acre situated in the F Trevino survey. Oh my goodness, I cannot see today, y'all. For this one, I believe we do have staff here for that as well. So let's open this particular hearing at 6:23 PM.
Good evening. Again, this one is a new zoning case that I don't believe that has been brought before you previously. This is a 3.79 acre tract along Red Fern Road. And this is a request to zone to Plan Development District. This property is actually subject to a development agreement that was approved by council September 28th. And in that development agreement, there are development standards that were agreed to between the developer and staff, and city council did agree with that. And part of that development agreement is the annexation of the property, and that is currently in process of annexing it into the city. And the reason that they are moving forward with a PD is because this is it's planned to be a mixed use development. And also there are some development standards that set the uses and also the building materials and design of the property. What you see before you here is the site plan, and what is proposed and has been agreed to in the development agreement is 6 buildings to be constructed in one phase. Some of the development standards that we are going to look at tonight is the masonry of the buildings. It is has been agreed to for 25% of masonry along Red Fern Road for the buildings that are within 50 feet of Red Fern Road. Landscaping is going to meet the requirements for this area, and it's 16 canopy trees. And they're also going to include shrubbery lining the parking fronts along Red Fern Road as well. Parking, it is set to be 1 parking space per 500 square feet of floor area. 2 monument signs are going to be at the entry and exit points of the property. And then there will be lighting as well that is included. It's going to be more security lighting for the parking area and the surrounding buildings. So let's talk a little bit about the uses. This PD is going to have authorized land uses that include uses within the base zonings of general retail, shopping center, commercial and industrial. And within those districts, there will also be allowed by conditional uses and specific use permits, the uses that would be allowed, possibly considered within those districts. One thing that we did include in these development standards is some prohibited uses, so that it did eliminate some of the uses within those districts, but we did call those out here so you could see, while it's somewhat of a light industrial area, there are some of the industrial uses and some other uses that have been strictly prohibited within the development.
So there's already a development agreement
Yes.
without it having come before us to see if
The
that's.
development agreement is a tool that's established to develop, to set standards when a property is in the extraterritorial jurisdiction in the ETJ. So this property is not currently in the city limits, and part of the agreement to set the development standards was to set specific uses and building designs, and then also to agree for the property to come into the city limits.
And this has been fully reviewed by staff.
Yes.
But, so we don't. So we're being asked to zone it to what's already been agreed to, so. This is kind of, I thought we weren't gonna do this, okay.
I got your point. I got your point. Okay,
Okay, so
so could we,
As-
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
What are we being asked of this evening?
well, you are being asked whether or not we're going to zone this property PD. Generally speaking, and Cynthia, please correct me here if I'm wrong, but the property can stay in the ETJ and not come in. So that is one thing that we need to consider when we're looking at these uses. But generally speaking, the way that the development is set, we have agreed to these development standards, and part of the agreement is when they annex in, that we look at the development standards that are agreed to in the development agreement and bring those into a planned development. And that is a tool that helps us to plan for the development, to meet city standards and the uses, and gives the city somewhat of control over the area to enforce instead of the possibilities that are available being outside of the city limits.
Kind of a proactive.
Yes, correct. Mhm.
So I'm on the phone and I can't see what you're looking at. All I have is a map that I was mailed. Where is this development going exactly on Redfern? I have, they're on what I was mailed, they're like 9, 6, 5, 5, 7, 8 numbers like that. Where are you exactly talking about?
That the property is east of 424, correct? And High Meadow Drive comes down and connects into Redfern, and the property is east of the point where High Meadow Drive comes down into Redfern Road.
Okay, so well, there's that daycare there. So you're talking beside the daycare?
Believe it's south of the daycare.
Okay. So it's going to sit right on Redfern Road, right by Aubrey Creek Estates.
Correct. It is across Redfern Road to the north of Aubrey Creek Estates.
Okay. Thank you.
Did y'all have any further questions for
Not
for me?
you, thank you, or I don't.
Anyone here?
We need to have the public hearing. of this.
And anyone in representation? Sir, I believe that was you.
What exactly is it that they don't want to build? See your picture on the wall, what exactly is it?
So
It's a good question.
the applicant, the applicant is building 6 buildings that will be lease spaces for the uses that are outlined in the PD that would be allowed to open in those locations.
Can I get a copy of the PDs? Know what's going to be there? So my
Well,
back-
they want him to do this.
Is it actually plans? Plan or anything?
So I don't understand.
No, sir, I believe, well, any of the uses within the general retail district, shopping center, commercial or industrial, without prohibiting the list here. So like, there's certain things that would not be allowed and other things that would only be allowed with a conditional use or a specific use permit. So we would have to,
So it falls under the ETJ,
We don't always know what a building is going to be used. for.
right,
Yeah, it's just like my backyard, so I don't want a bunch of noise.
right.
Everything else.
and when staff was working with the applicant on this, that is, one of the things that they took into consideration, and that's why there are certain uses within the industrial district and the other districts that are now being prohibited, so that they would not be allowed to bring certain things in.
Just copies of this available. for-
Yes.
So
So we have to vote.
Yeah.
What do you need?
I appreciate it. Sorry.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
We voted.
We get your name and address, so they can get that record to get that to you.
I think so. What's happening? On something. How many more of these do we have?
Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
You can just speak it out loud.
Okay. 637 Presidio Street,
Thank you.
Mike Weiner.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
White.
sir.
Ma'am, did you want to speak as well, or were you?
My name is Ina Widener, so I also live 637 Presidios. So when we learned about this main zone, and my main concern is, as we've been living in Dallas and we've been going through some things like this, and the main thing is to have something built that will be residential friendly, as we have a lot of neighbors, children, daycare, high school. I'm also concerned what is going to be built there,
Mhm.
because usually people say it will be built like this, but it's then can dramatically change to be based on engineers plus minuses. So this can be a long process for consideration. And as well, of course, I'm concerned about, I don't want any liquor stores, I don't want any cigarette places, vaping, with the CBD, whatever, all those little places that attract the different audience, not good for people, because this was our dream house and I want to be living comfortably, peacefully, and good for community as well. I was thinking about, like, if that land will be used for something good for city, because we have that hopper range and uniqueness of this town. When we moved here, we didn't know about Aubrey, but the thing is, I find it unique and very pleasing when you have ranches, when you have this combination of people, small town feelings, and same time, I think nobody has really in our area. We should preserve this. And as well, with 6 buildings built, if it will be residentials, too many people, that's the end of the street. The traffic is already going very bad there. And we learned about that the gas station will be built on the Redfern. So personally, I'm not happy about that, because it's kind of very close, but I guess it's already building because there's a full construction going on there. And I guess we cannot change anything, but something should be done really nice. And how many people, if it's a residential, 6 buildings, how many people will be living there? It's like water, people already talking about water. We also have a lot of problem with water drainage, and it's a new construction after heavy rain. So how it will affect all of us, traffic, a lot of things. So personally, right now, I'm not really in favor to know there is something major like this will be built. And at the end of the Redfern, there is a private property, like what is that, the lake there or something like that. So how it's going to be. So I'm very concerned about these things. And right now, would like to get more information, I guess, and if there will be meetings, I will try to attend. That's it, I
Thank you.
guess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay. Is there anyone else on this path?
Well, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So it sounds like this is already one of those that's already done. So to be approved. Two, is there any way that in these 6 buildings that we would build, they could come to us before they put something in it and suggest what it is? Do we get a vote on that? On what business they might put in?
Well, if it is they would have to come for a CO, correct? So they would have to come for a certificate of occupancy, and
Right.
then a staff would be able to evaluate it at that time. But if it is a use that is allowed by right within one of these districts for the planned development, then it would be an allowable use. It
Okay.
could possibly be that it
It
is one
wouldn't
that,
come to us.
Right.
It's already categorized.
unless it needs a further, that if it needs a conditional use permit, if it's a use that would require a conditional use permit, then it would come before y'all again, so that you would be able to review that before that use is approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? No? Okay, so we'll close this particular hearing now. The time is 6:36 PM, not AM. You have anyone who would like to move?
I'll move to approve to the PD development. Is that what we approved to? I will move to approve to the PD development.
I'll second. All in favor?
Opposed? You opposed?
It has been moved and seconded for the,
We need a vote.
I'll go, I have one question. Is it, these buildings are not apartment complexes, are they?
yeah, it's
Okay.
commercial.
Okay, then I approve. Okay.
So let's do that one more time.
Okay.
All those who approve
And then-
and for those who did not. It has been approved that the PD vote would stand for approval. Okay. Moving on to the third and final item on the agenda. Consideration and action on approval of minutes of the September 14th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any in denial? It has been moved and approved in favor of the minutes. Are you ordering us dinner? Okay. We will now call this meeting to adjourn.
Okay.
If I know it. We adjourned this meeting at 6:39 PM. Oh, I see it.